Enterprise software is likely to end up in what I call three states. Agentic enterprise software companies, those that actually have agents operating and doing the work at speed and capacity far beyond what humans would be able to do, should have an expanded addressable market and expanded what we call terminal value, which is one of the reasons it's caused some issues in the market. People say, well, what's the terminal value of SaaS? SaaS has been tied to the number of seats and licenses. Now we can tie it to the outcome. And the outcome actually is how much value is created for the customer as opposed to how many people are actually operating on keyboards. The second category is what we call AI enabled. So the reduction of cost in delivery of the products to our customers. A year ago, if we were sitting here, which we were, our enterprise software systems were delivering about 30% productivity for code development. As a result of that, we now have the ability to reduce cost and bring efficiencies across our product development, our go-to-market, our customer support. So those two are very important states that inflect the terminal value of enterprise software. And the third category is those that can get disintermediated. We say don't have a right to exist.
Right.
So those are the three categories. So the effort is to drive, of course, all of our existing stock into categories 1 and 2, and underwriting only to 1 and 2 going forward.
Obviously, sure. What is the conversation like with a customer when you're saying, all right, we're going from a seat-based to an outcome-based pricing model?
Right.
Do they push back? Do they say, no, no, or I can figure this out with Claude on my own internally, and thanks so much for your help, guys?
Yeah, so part of, like I say, the proof of the pudding is always in the eating, as they say. Importantly, what has to happen is you do not want to take your data, your workflow, and expose it to these public models, because then those public models, in essence, have absorbed what is 20, 30, 50, 100 years of intellectual property for a company. So less than 1% of enterprise data actually exists and these models have been trained on. So that's an important fact. And so what they've realized, and actually Satya Nadella talked a bit about this at Davos this year, is you actually need to bring the models to your data, not take your data to the models. So large corporations, our customers, are saying, I need to operate in an environment where I'm not compromising my data is not exposed, but I get the utility of this AI solution set. Once you actually have proven that you have the ability to do that, driving agentic solutions into existing workflows, existing enterprise software companies, and utilizing their data in air-gapped environments or what we call secure environments, they start to see the productivity of it. And then it's a question of how you get paid associated with it. Some cases it's based on outcomes, some cases it's based on usage. But there's a new business model evolving and emerging that will have to be understood for the public, ultimately in the private markets, because we adopt a little faster, that will ultimately be measured against in the public markets.
Is the conversation beginning? Where are we in that whole, because I've had conversations today as well about diffusion of AI in the enterprise and the inertia and how difficult it can be. So how far along are we?
Right. I would say we're still in the early stages of that messy middle. I know one of my colleagues, Ashley McNeil, talks about the messy middle. But the early stages are now showing dramatic proof points in these companies. We actually now have to install these agentic systems in our customers, and our customers are seeing astounding returns associated with it. But like all things, it takes a little time. Remember that as we went to the cloud, it was literally a decade plus to get at about a 50% absorption or diffusion rate of that particular technology. This, I think, will happen faster.
You do? Why?
Yeah. Because of the rate and utility of the infrastructure. The infrastructure we have today are well-defined, workflows and capabilities and connectivity. We didn't have that. Remember, we were going to the cloud from on-prem. So a lot of the rails weren't in place. The rails are in place now, so you can actually install these agentic systems and actually prove out much more quickly the efficacy of the products.
This factory that you have created, that Vista has, I guess, that you are then diffusing within your own companies that are then using.
Correct.
You have the compute for it?
We do.
All right. Well, it would seem to be a lot.
Well, what has been interesting is every one of our partners, which are the hyperscalers, we started, of course, the first factory, I think you and I talked well over a year and a half ago. First company came out through the Azure platform with Microsoft. We now are, of course, utilizing every platform, AWS, and most recently the strategic partnership we have with Google. That has enabled us to bring their top technologists and scientists to work with our technologists and scientists and our portfolio companies to now build capabilities. Each one of the hyperscalers understands what they really want ultimately is companies utilizing the inference, utilizing the compute, the intelligence to drive their businesses forward. But they also realize companies aren't just going to take their data and put it into these public clouds or in these GPU environments, or these compute environments. What they want is they want it in a secure environment, and that's where we provide a unique place in the marketplace.
Let me, in the brief time we have left, let me take it down to the real world in terms of your portfolio. I think your largest asset, most watched sort of position, you put together Systrix and Tibco.
Right.
It's a $16.5 billion merger then, obviously. You've also, I think, raised fresh capital around that, another $5.6 billion continuation vehicle, retained the asset, $2.7 billion in fresh secondary capital, and then $2.2 billion from your other funds. So explain to me how that deal, which you haven't found an exit yet for, and some of your investors may say, all right, give me the example here as to how that's going to be beneficiary of what you're discussing.
Sure, that is a company that clearly falls into that category too. We have been able to return capital through dividends and through recaps. It is a mission-critical, essential product that now, as you drive agentic solutions for the delivery of those products to the customer base, you now have the ability to return capital to your investors on a pretty consistent basis. So that's the exciting thing about that. That is, I call it a category 2 type of AI-enabled software company, not necessarily delivering a swath of agentic products to the customers, but utilizing AI to reduce the cost and the efficiency of how they operate the business in and of themselves.
Finally, though, you're